coming in from the ground, where thousands of young people and their parents gathered across Iran to mark the 40th day since a deadly US-Israeli attack on a school in Minab killed more than 160 people. The Minab school in the country's southwest near the Gulf was attacked in the early hours of February 28th, the first day of the Israeli-US military operation against Iran, and most of these kids that were killed actually were school children. Now, I want to go to Air Marshal. Sir, I want to understand, in this war, we have seen an unprecedented density in drone and ballistic missile salvos. And based on your experience with the Central Air Command, do you believe that how sustainable are the current interception ratios if the ceasefire breaks? Because we are seeing a 2-week period. Mr. Peter just pointed out that there seems to be some disagreement in Iran's leadership. There are still ballistic missiles still being fired. So I want to understand, do you believe these interception ratios are sustainable, or like you mentioned, that this is a period where we can look at a tactical reset for both the warring factions?
So, the first issue is of continuing missile strikes even after the ceasefire was declared. What has happened is, to a large extent, the command and control structure, which is central to Iran, was decapitated by the American and Israeli strikes. So there is a lack of communications, which leads to what we call as decentralized control. That means individual commanders are given clear instructions that they can initiate attacks using their drones and missiles under their command. And so by the time the directions reach, if you remember Op Sindoor, after the ceasefire was declared, we still had Pakistani drones and some rockets and artillery coming our way. But that ceased after about, say, 12 hours or so. So it takes time in such a decentralized, when the operations are decentralized to local commanders, it takes time for the message to reach, and at times such things can happen. What we have to see is, does it get repeated over the 2 waves or 3 waves? If it is just a single wave, I think we should just let it pass and then wait for the complete ceasefire to stabilize and then talks to take place. But in case it does not happen, then obviously there is an issue, and then action would be taken by the nations as they deem fit for the violation of ceasefire. But in any case, what we have seen is the response would come from Israel. We have not seen any GCC nation militarily responding to the Iranian attacks on their land or their this thing. Right. Coming to the interception rates, I think around more than 7,000 drones and missiles have been fired have been launched by Iranians. Now, even if the interception rate is, say, 90%, it drops as the number of weapons reduces, as the cluster ammunition increases, as the multiple warheads increase, the rate of interception would reduce to some number maybe between 70 and 85%. So if 7,000 projectiles have been fired, launched by Iranians, and the interception rate is, say, 90%, then 700 would still go and strike.
Right.
If it is 85%, 1,050 would go and strike. And so if 1,050 projectiles strike, they would cause certain amount of damage. Okay. And that damage will be in consonance with the warhead capacity and the type of warhead that was carried on that projectile.
Right.
Now, as the resources deplete in terms of the interception resources, or as like the third radar was damaged in a drone attack, there were many other sensors which have been damaged in the drone attacks. As these sensors deplete, the interception rates would fall. They would also fall as the density of attack increases. So we have seen that wherever Iran wanted the density of attack or saturation, they have sent in more projectiles, and where the density was less, the interception rate would be higher. So as we progress, we will see in case Iran keeps up or it continues to improvise depending on intelligence that it gets, depending on the quality and capacity and capability of its missiles, it will continue this saturation rate. If it is high, then the interception rate would fall. If there is a depletion of
Right. All right.
interceptors.
I apologize for interrupting you, sir, but unfortunately, we're getting some national news that we'll need to move on to. But I thank you, Air Marshal Kapoor and Mr. Peter, for joining us on this discussion.